invite Kevin Pringle on the stage to enrich our soul with the words he prepared in the context of it. Thank you.
Start every book and lecture with this statement. Straight and narrow is the path, waste no time. Gloria in excelsis Deo, which means glory to God the Most High. And I believe that's why we're all here. We all have the same spirit and the same heart in our path, no matter how different it may look. And that's what Adam Day is about, and that's why I was glad that the Azeemias asked me to come here today. It's a day for us to all come together and celebrate our common source, and as opposed to focusing on our differences, which seems to happen too often nowadays. Being that it is Adam Day, I wanted to share a little joke. A little girl asked her mother, "How did the human race appear?" The mother answered, "God made Adam and Eve, and they had children, and so all was mankind made." 2 days later, the girl asked her father the same question. The father answered, "Many years ago there were monkeys from which the human race evolved." The girl was now confused, and she returned to her mother and said, "Mom, how is it possible that you told me the human race was created by God, and Dad said they developed from monkeys?" The mother smiled and said, "Well, dear, it's very simple. Your dad told you about his side of the family, I told you about mine." But it's a blessing to be here today with you guys. Thanks to the Azeemias for putting this together. I think this is a really good event, and we need more of this in today's world where everything, the division becomes so highlighted. We share too much in common to be divided. We're all brothers and sisters, and no single group or system owns inner peace as it belongs to the human spirit by virtue of our origin. And as Jesus said, the kingdom of heaven is within us. And as someone who started out on his own spiritual path as a Christian, I think as Christians we get a little lost in the religiosity of what's in the book as opposed to what's actually being said. And there is no difference between Islam or Christianity when it comes to the heart and the source of what it is that's being taught. My own path has been a very winding road. Like I said, I started as a traditional Christian, trying to figure out my path through that, and didn't quite satisfy my thirst for truth and knowledge. So I researched all different paths with an open heart and mind, and saw that there was a lot of similarities within all paths. And as I progressed, I came across who became my teacher, Dr. David Hawkins, and his work, which really helped me contextualize all spiritual paths as it reflects in the universal nature of consciousness itself, which is what every path in essence is about. It's a path of consciousness evolving to higher levels of consciousness and higher levels of understanding, especially like within the Sufi Order, which is a path of self-realization and understanding that path. So, like I said, my teacher had put forth something called the Map of Consciousness, which is basically a roadmap of consciousness in this realm, of everything. And it reflects on different teachings, objects, situations, anything in this realm is coming from some level, some frequency of consciousness. And understanding consciousness is very important, in different levels of consciousness is important to understand in order to evolve through that. And it also helps with judgment. Here in the human realm, we're all so different, and we get focused on judgments and casting things with labels. Whereas when you take it from a perspective of consciousness, there really is no need for that. It's all water. It's all H2O. If it's down at a certain level, it might become like ice. Up at a certain level, it might be like steam. But there's only H2O, which is only God. So the path I do follow is called devotional non-duality. The teachings emphasize the core truths of the world's great spiritual traditions, which is kindness and compassion to everything and everyone, including and especially oneself. Can't forget yourself. Humility, forgiveness, simplicity, lovingness as a way of being, reverence for all of life, devotion to truth, and surrender to God. It is a direct path to enlightenment in which each internal progression of love and integrity uplifts the whole of existence. And there's a famous quote, we change the world not by what we say or do, but as a consequence of what we have become. A lot of the times people get focused on the doing and forget the being. So you can try to do a lot of things, but what is the nature and the energy it's coming out of? When we focus on being more loving, being more forgiving, more humble, that energy itself influences the people, places, things, and situations around us and the world as a whole. So the map of consciousness is a great tool to help understand the different levels of consciousness in this realm. The levels can be likened to attractor fields. It attracts to itself what it is. And just for some understanding of that, everything emits energy, either positive or negative. Intuitively, we know the difference between a positive person who is friendly, genuine, or considerate, and a negative person who is greedy, deceitful, or hateful. The energy of Mother Teresa was obviously different from the energy of Adolf Hitler, and most people's energy falls between that spectrum. Everything in this world, music, places, books, animals, intentions, all of life emit an energy somewhere on this scale. So it's critical to understand that like goes to like, and that different energies constellate in attractor patterns that when we're in an energy of, say, desire or anger, we're seeing and experiencing the world through that lens. And that's the kind of things we're attracting to ourselves. So as we move up the scale and embrace higher energies like courage and joy and willingness, acceptance, we begin to attract that and uplift all of mankind through that energy itself. It's similar to a cork in the ocean. It floats according to its own buoyancy. So the higher, the lesser the weight of whatever the science is of it, whatever your level is, you float to that level in the ocean. So some of the levels of consciousness, trying to go through this pretty quick here. There's two basic levels. There's the levels of force, which are the lower levels, which is the basis levels of mankind. It's represented by our animal nature, our most savage, from shame, guilt, apathy and hatred, grief, fear, desire, anger, and pride. Those are all the lower levels of consciousness. And when we are in those levels, we experience God and the world through that lens. It doesn't mean that God is that. It means that's what we're experiencing. That's what we're perceiving God to be. But as we get through those lower levels, we get to the critical part of courage. And courage is where everything changes. When you have the courage to stand up for what's true, to stand up for integrity and truth, no matter what, you're stepping into a different realm. And this realm is courage, neutrality, which is, you don't have a stake in what it is. Whatever happens is fine with you. You can make it happen. Willingness, acceptance, reason, which is the sole prime characteristic of the human species. Love, real love, not the love that's glamorized in Hollywood, where it's, oh, if I can't have you, I'm going to die today. This is a real love with a capital L that has no sense of loss. And as you get your love more unconditional, you move to the state of joy. This is a state of healing. This is the level where that energy comes into play. And this is the level where a lot of spiritual teachers start to come about. And that energy is prominent. And as you get to the highest levels of peace and full enlightenment, there is no more identification with oneself as being a separate human meat vessel of you don't see yourself as human anymore. You are spirit. You are the source. You're not identifying as the wave. You identify as the ocean itself. And that's the level of all true spiritual teachers. From all the great prophets, peace be upon all of them, to Christ. Everyone has been in the higher levels of the scale. So as mankind perceives these different people, we may throw our own template of what we think they are. But the truth of their nature is spelled out within the map. And that which is true will always be true at all times. So the map of consciousness, like I said, really helped me contextualize my own spiritual path. I've been really good friends with the Azeemias for a long time. I respect their path. I've always respected mine. Because we see it's the same. There's cultural differences. There's terminology that's different. But it's all the same. So I just wanted to wrap up, I just wanted to say a few of the laws of consciousness themselves. Like I said, consciousness is something that applies to all paths, so I think there is value here. The first one is fear is healed by love. Fear is a lower energy based in more of our animalistic nature. Love heals all. And we're all connected at the energetic level, and a higher vibration such as love always has a powerful effect on a lower vibration such as fear. Something that's very important to remember, we are only subject to a negative thought or belief if we consciously say it applies to us. This seems hard to believe at first, but it's very true. We don't realize a lot of what we believe in. We just kind of are programmed to walk around like robots. But what we consciously hold in mind as true tends to be so for us. If we hold ourselves in mind as loving spiritual beings, we will be that. Like goes to like I was saying, these attractor fields. Be love, be forgiveness, be humble, and that is the world that you will experience. What one holds in mind tends to manifest. This is not the law of attraction, which tends to get a little glamorized and pushed out there for its marketing. But what you hold in mind tends to manifest. The energy that you're holding is what will manifest. Defensiveness invites attack. Love is the ultimate law of the universe. Our feelings and thoughts always have an effect on other people and affect our relationships, whether these thoughts and feelings are verbalized, expressed, or not. So just to wrap this up, to be like God, which should be all of our goals, whether we fall short of it or not, the purpose is to try to be like God, is to be like love. So to understand God is to understand love. Being loving is being God. So that which we really are is created by, from, and remains pure love. And you know it by being it. That's the only way to know anything. Otherwise, you're just knowing about, which is not the same as knowing. So that's really all I have to say about that today. It's been really good being here. Thank you guys for having me. It's a blessing, and hopefully we'll do it again.
And again, thank you once again to our distinguished guest speaker, Christina Ross and Kevin, for your wise words and superbness.